I've had no way. And before I was seeing like my grandma. Then before the assault, she actually died. So that was that's why I was in Colorado, because that's where she lived. And,
so you just feel disconnected right now.
yeah, it's just so long. A lot of people in my situation, a lot of people on the streets, they say that they don't have family here, and that's because they've gotten into an altercation or something, and things have fallen through. But there's that self-confidence, there's that self-preservation factor that you have. It's like when you really don't have anyone to turn to in a crisis, like when my ex tried killing me. I wanted to turn and just hug somebody, just be hugged. And I knew it wasn't going to happen.
Don't have that here.
Yeah, don't have that here. And that right there was the most terrifying thing for me, is knowing that, and even when his friends said that they were going to finish me off, I just thought to myself, I said, I still don't have anyone to like turn to and just have that comfort. There's a lot of, it's not just confidence, but it's support. It's the very ground you walk on. Your foundation is just crumbling. And this country, to me, because there's a lot of organizations that have a mission statement that they do this and they do that. And if you look it up, there's tons of organizations that are supposed to help people in my situation. But they're like, well, due to funding, or we really don't work with that. All we do is we can get you in touch with shelters. I'm like, with Google, you don't really need help with finding a shelter.
Like there's nothing there to help you.
There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing to help me. Nowhere for me to go, except for to keep moving. Like I said, I have Crohn's disease. I've been struggling with Crohn's disease since before they ever gave me disability for it, and especially after the assault, I had to figure out how I was going to travel back to the West Coast, for medical reasons, so that I could get the help that I needed, and I had to do it without no money. So I was stuck in Death Valley, hiking with a broken foot.
So what's it like feeling so cut off from everything that you need?
Suffocating. I feel anymore that yes, I'm on a sinking ship, and I don't know what to do. This country is becoming more like a prison to me. It's not. It doesn't even feel like, people say, well, this is the country you're from. This is your home. It's like, well, everyone's got their own definitions of what home is. This is not home. Everywhere I go, I'm being turned away. I'm being turned around. They say, go to Texas, go, because that's where I was born. So, but I don't have any family there. You look into the laws about Texas, there's a 15-second law that if someone catches you on their property, they have the right to defend their property. They can shoot to kill you, basically, but they have to give you 15 seconds ahead of time to warn you, and then they can shoot to kill you. A lot of little cities, a lot of small towns, you're not going to see that kind of respect. They're just going to shoot you first and ask questions later and drag you in their house and say you tried to break it in, or because why? They saw you had a backpack and you were traveling through. Another idea I had in order to get to Hawaii was right now with the volcano situations they got going on, the emergency that they're having. I thought about going to American Red Cross and asking if I could volunteer in order to get away home. Try anything I can, because I'm just so tired, and on the streets, it's like people either want something from you. And it's not street people. This is every single person. It's not just to one group. And I've been seeing videos lately how they talk about now actresses are coming forth, I guess, about hypersexualization in the workforce, in the workplace with women. And I was talking to somebody today, and I said, the one thing that they leave out is that it's happening on the streets every day. Someone either wants to blank or fight me. They don't, there's no in between anymore. And you're sitting somewhere where you don't see nobody, but you feel like somebody is trying to touch you, and they're not even there. It's an energy of someone undressing you with their eyes. You can't see them, but they can see you, and you know that they're around. It's very, very hard and very far and few. And I'm not saying it's people have to wake up to realize that when you, and this is what a lot of Native Americans believe, is that you have a thought. Be careful with your thoughts, because your thoughts become words and your words become actions. So you can think something and it's going to have a cause and effect to it. It's got an energy to it. Your brain is full of electricity.
So you're aware of that danger when people are putting that out.
Oh, most definitely. And the one thing that taught me that was being on the streets. I didn't know that I had very little knowledge or training in energies at all until I ended up on the streets. And I've said for many years, I'm not scared of animals. Take me out in the wilderness, I'm not scared of bears, I'm not scared of cougars, I'm not scared of anything like that. I'm scared of people, because the years and the days and the hours and the minutes that I've spent out in the woods cleaning up the forest, cleaning up parks, cleaning up, whatever, I have not been attacked. I have not felt threatened. I haven't felt, and in order to do that, to where I can work with animals, because I'm really good with dogs especially. Working with animals, I have to be in tune. I have to be tuned in all the time, and that's what helps me build that bridge and close that gap on animals and people, because we're all connected. And my beliefs is that we're all connected. All plants, people, animals, this whole plant, we're all connected. I was at a point in Durango, Colorado, where I was helping these kids. They were doing a humanitarian project. I built a little wood hut out on this homeless encampment, this little area that they set aside for the homeless to camp out. I see it as home free, or a lot of people say home free. I don't like the word homeless, because that tells somebody that they're less home. Home is not a building. Home is where your heart is, and that's what they teach you. Years ago they said that. Now they're saying this whole word homeless exists, and I'm saying it doesn't. I say I'm free range, just like my food. I like my food. It's kind of a joke. And when I was doing this and I was talking to the kids, and they made a video and everything about me and a bunch of other people. After all that happened, and when I went to the show where they went to showcase the video and everything, all the efforts that the kids put up for us, there was very few of the people that are actually living up on the hill that showed up. And that's what made me sad. I'm like, they went around and they got as much information as any homeless person would need, and they had people from social services come down and talk and everything. And so they put together this whole showcase thing for everybody. It was the juniors of the school, of the Animas High School. And I was shocked that nobody showed up. And, when I go back to what I considered home at the time, people on the hill had torn down my home while I was going supporting both the kids, the youth, and the homeless, the street kids. I was like, I went in support of everybody, to be a face. I mean, I'm not going to be like the icon or the face of homelessness, but I was like, if I show up, that makes these kids feel like they did something that meant something, and they'll continue it. Just showing that your support. When I went back and it was all destroyed, and that was 2 weeks after I got beat up, I just said, I've tried. You know, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. When I try to live indoors, when I try to do anything in this country with not having my family and the fact that my stepmom, I consider my mother, but legal terms, she's my stepmother. When she was asked to leave the country, that's when I said, if she's not good enough for you, I'm not good enough for you. That's my mom. When a country, I don't care what country it is, your home country doesn't matter. They say your family's not good enough to be here. She was in this country for 30, 40 years, working her ass off with visas. Mm-hmm. You know, and they're like, oh, just go back to the Philippines. You can come back 6 to 8 months later and try again. My dad's on retirement disability at the time. That's not going to happen. You move across the world and then just move back. You know, 6 to 8 months, you're going to have to live somewhere. No, they're not coming back.
How did that happen 10 years ago? I mean, that wasn't even like what's happening today, where they're turning people away.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is people think that right now is the first time that we've seen it, but it's not. Being from Texas, I've seen a lot of people come and go from this country. Back in the day, it was a very popular thing, and it probably still is today, that a woman gets pregnant. And this is a lot of times is from Mexico. Not all the times, but a lot of times it was. And she would get pregnant, but then she'd come here, and then she'd get services. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone knows about that. Most people know about the whole Mexico thing. But when they were letting people in from, from India, countries like that over, they were also, they were saying that they were okay because they had money, or their country had resources that we were using that we needed, like oil, different other things that we needed. But when you're from a third world country like the Philippines, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, you should stay here, because they have nothing. This country has been always about profit over people. So the reason why good people aren't necessarily, it's not about being good or bad. They're just like, we can't exploit you to your country. We can't be like, oh, well, we got a bunch of your people living here, pay us.
Well, it's easy.
And I'm saying it in layman's terms, like I'm saying it in street lingo, but I mean, look at the facts. I'm not being treated, my constitutional rights are broken every single day.
I mean, it's kind of
I don't have the right to do anything but to keep silent and give my name. You know, and people will say, when a cop asks you, when a cop stops you, and you're supposed to go through the list of, am I being detained? When you have a service animal, when you have a dog, the last thing you're thinking about is, how am I going to stand up for myself? People have cameras. They could be like watching, going, oh, that cop's not supposed to be harassing her like that. She's not doing anything wrong. That's what it comes down to, is that I see people filming all the time. You know, it's not about me, unless they're on the phone with the cops telling them to come talk to me. I don't know what's going on. It's a madhouse. Nothing makes sense. And I'm not sure if it's just because everything that's like, I'm up against the wall. My back is up against the wall so hard, and been for so years of daily with my back up against the wall, that I want to cry out asylum. I want to be sovereign, because if you're not gonna, you're not gonna give me my birth certificate, you're not gonna give me an ID. So that means I can't get a passport, and the government can look and see that I have family in the Philippines and in Hawaii. They can see this. It's all right in front of them. They're like, oh, well, she's trying to do this. Well, look, let's not let her do this, because the more she stays here, it's more of a, I'm just here to be tortured. There are a lot of people that are in this country that are from even other countries that can't get back home because they were robbed or something, and somehow they lost their passport, and they have no family in the other country to get them out of here. So yes, a lot of people end up stuck. Not exactly like me, not to say I'm the only one, but it would be nice if something could be done, because something needs to be done. And not just because it's me, but I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I'm glad if someone wants to be in the United States, take my place. When I see the look on the cop's face, they're so happy to be asserting themselves and their power over me, knowing that they could help, but they're not going to because they got direct orders that they can have a field day with us. Apparently, I don't know. I'm not a cop.
How much abuse do you see on the street from authorities?
Oh, it's all the time. What people have been saying about, look at how they treat African Americans, black people, Black Lives Matter. I support it because I say, when you're on the streets, it's just as bad. It don't matter what color. If you're a female, even worse. That's the ultimate card, is being a homeless female. Like even being like a female versus like a black man on the streets. You're basically right there with them. Like, hey man, we're in the same boat. Don't matter our color at this point, just because I'm a female.
So how do you protect yourself?
Well, a lot gets put on my dog, of course, and people say, "Oh, service animal's not supposed to talk," and I say, you know what? Something I did notice. As soon as I got him a service animal vest, I've had other dogs before that were service animals that didn't have the vest, and I get yelled at. People driving by in their car will roll down their window and scream obscene remarks at me, and I'm thinking, how are you gonna? It's like, you see he's got a service dog vest on. Even if you don't believe that I'm disabled or not, who does that? How is that in anyone's mind that you drive past somebody and you scream at them? But as far as being the empowering that I've done for people all over this country, all ages, all groups, no matter who you are, all that I've done says better, and those that actually have gotten to know me know better. They say, this is where society would like to put you, but doesn't mean that that's where you should be. Yeah, I gotta liberate myself, but as far as I can't do it here.
Well, the way you describe it, it's like you're stuck in all these circumstances, and none of them, they all lock you into the same position.
Yeah, and you can't move. It's
can't
like
move forward or up or
any direction, because every chance I get to try something different, there's always, like when I was in Texas, and when I first became disabled, wasn't able to get a job, wasn't able to work at all, I wasn't able to get food stamps because they said that back in that time, they said, well, do you have any children? And I'm like, well, guys get food stamps, but if you were female, the only way you would get food stamps or any services is if you had children. I first developed Crohn's disease when I was about 12 years old, and I'm 34 now, so 22 years of dealing with this illness. When I had my first surgery, I swelled up with 40 pounds of bile. I was 160 pounds. I haven't been that heavy previous to that or even since that time. That was the heaviest I've ever been. And when your body fills up with bile, a lot of organs get damaged. A lot of organs. They basically said, kids weren't even an option. So when I'm in the office saying, okay, I'm not able to work, it would be nice to be able to eat though until I can figure out if I'm getting disability or not. And they said, do you have any children? And I'm like, no, that's kind of something I can't do. It's like apparently there's a lot of things that they're not supposed to say, but they'll say it to me. If I only went into places when I recorded them, it'd be insane. What they actually say and what they're supposed to say and not supposed to say to people. They say whatever they want to me. They're like, it's like I've got this sign, it feels like I have a sign above me that says, target at will, because she's not going to do anything. She might cry. She'll get frustrated. She's still going to keep trying. And something that I've learned, especially when you're a person that lives through your experiences or the experiences of others, and you are attentive and mindful and aware enough, when you look at somebody, you can see the pain in them that you've already felt. It's not hard. If, like I said, you're mindful and aware, you will walk around and you will see it. When I was in Berkeley, I was known as a street mama, and I'd sit in a very popular spot, but the point was people were just constantly throwing things at me without me asking. But then I'd have kids coming through, they're like, oh, and it's because I had a friendly face. I had a nice aura that people were like, oh, I should give this to you. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. And they're like, no, but you can find somebody who's hungry. And I was like, well, yeah, I can see. Because I almost, with my first surgery, I was in Texas. I didn't know about panhandling. I didn't know about asking for food. I didn't even dumpster dive. For a year and a half, I had a colostomy bag on the streets, and I almost died from it. Just because I didn't know. You know, the city I grew up in, Texas, was a very small town, no homeless people. There was like one guy that he was somebody's derelict uncle, you know, that everyone talked about. There was rumor about this one guy that was in the town, but that was it, you know. And so I really didn't see firsthand, you know, I survived, but barely.
How does
Yeah,
this area
I'm afraid that you know, you hear that people can die from a broken heart. This country's broken my heart.
Yeah.
Just because I figure that I know I'm not the first one to be going through this. So why isn't there more help for people like in my situation? Why is it so hard? It's much easier just to throw me in a shelter and say, you don't need family. Family's not important. But you see on PBS and all these channels that family first, family first. This country wants to sell the idea that family's first, and yet I've been a victim of not being able to be with family for 10 years.
what is the candle you keep lit in order to keep alive, keep warm?
Prayer. Definitely my spirit. Without my spirit, without spirit at all, you know, without, in a lot of regards, I consider myself to be a spirit warrior. I'm somebody that, in times, I've known people that have needed an exorcism, and I stayed right there, and I was able to pull them out. You know, some of us on the streets are actually the reason why we are on the streets. A lot of us is because we're gifted, and it's a lot of the churches don't accept. You know, they accept that there was Jesus at one point in time, but there's nobody current, that there hasn't been. You know, so well, as soon as the church turns an eye to you, turns the other cheek, everyone else does too, whether or not they believe in the church or not. They tend to follow that example of you're a weirdo, and I say, well, you know, if you think about it, a priest or a preacher, he is exactly that. He's a light warrior. He's somebody that goes and prays over people and is a vessel for God's work. And a lot of people know it as the Great Spirit, the divine, that is in everything and in all life and in all of us. You have a world of 8 billion plus people, you know? You think about it. Not one of us is going to have the answers. It's going to be a collective of people and thoughts and actions that make up the whole. So it's like a huge puzzle that's got 8 billion pieces. We all have a piece, so it's going to come in for everywhere. And then it's including beliefs. That it can't just be up to one belief, because every single belief that's out there has the creator, the divine, that is typically, I guess, on the light side. There's light and dark. It's not really good and evil. That's a distraction. It's all about light and dark. I've met a lot of people that have helped me out, and they say, so I just want to let you know that this is I'm helping you, but not because I'm a Christian, but I'm atheist. And the first thing I look at him and say, it's not whether or not you believe. You helping me is whether or not I believe. At this point, it's not if you believe. You're still a good person. Just because you say that you're a believer and non-believing. It's kind of weird. You can still be a good person. I've met some people that have done remarkable things, and at the end of the day, they say they're satanic. And I say, well, that's funny. You still did something good, so what does it matter? That's your lifestyle. That's what you believe in. But at the end of the day, it all depends on. It's like when I had my stepdaughter, I would tell her. She asked me one time, and I said, it's what you do, the choices that you make, and all those choices and everything that you do, your actions and your choices that you make, that you put all together, and it says whether or not you're good or you're a bad person. Because she asked me, why are there bad people in the world? Because how many times have I seen people that on the outside, I'll be sitting at a ramp, and it's, I got no water, and I've been trying to get a ride for hours and even days on end, hiking through the town, and I see nothing but people with the little crosses hanging from the rear view mirror, and they just came back from Sunday school, and I'm like, oh, this is a, I put on my best face. Hi, I'm not a weirdo. I live this lifestyle because I heard what Jesus did and other healers and spiritual leaders in the world, and I said, I would like to continue that work. Not that I am them. I'm not saying I'm Jesus, not in the least, but I am a healer.
But like you say, a lot of gifted people end up on the street because they don't fit in neatly into our society. There's not a place for them to use their talents.
And if there was a place, you have like the indigo children, if there was a place, the government takes you and does scientific experiments on you. So there is that side of it too, a lot of the gifted people. Anything that we know of, a lot of what we know about gifted people has come from being an experiment. It's that they're like, oh, well, let's see if you can levitate this thing. So we have kept you awake for 4 days, and we want to see if you can levitate this. It's been more.
There again, it's like you're a guinea pig.
Yes, it's just a guinea pig scenario. So when I tell people I have family in Hawaii, it's not just blood. It is blood, but it's also a spirit family. There's a lot there's a lot of growing that I need to do as far as a healer, so that I can maximize my efforts, because I got this short window. We all have this short window to do what we're all destined to do something. You talking to me today is your destiny. You were meant to go out there and get actual accounts of how people feel. And I was thinking days ago, like, why doesn't somebody come find me and I'll talk to them? I'm not kidding. I didn't manifest it, but knowing that, I was like, I got a great story for somebody. And I was just thinking that a couple days ago. So, it's, we're all called upon at different points in times, and everybody has a purpose. It's something that we need to, think about it like that. It's like, I don't consider that because I'm a healer and I'm on the streets and I'm being mistreated that I'm better than everybody else and I should be helped because I heal. No, that's not.
Well, you've accepted a pretty tough burden if that's the case.
Yeah, no, it's we all have a purpose. Every single person on this planet, no matter if it's good or bad, light or dark or whatever. We all have a reason to be here. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here. Well, some people have conflicting views with the world is overpopulated, and they're trying to do population control and this and that, and I say, well, that's really hard to say because, sometimes, a child is born and a child dies, and it brings, a community stronger together. And was that child meant to be born and die? No.
I don't know.
But you see what comes out. It's like what came out of it. It's like it brought this family together. It brought usually with the passing of somebody, it usually brings people together, not separated. So everything, is relevant, and it's very important in the times that we're looking at, especially if people want to believe that this is the end. Because when people tell me this is the end, I'm like, but every end has a new beginning. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's where my mind goes, is in a positive mind frame. That, like, if you think things are so bad that you're wishing for an end, why can't you hope for a beginning and try to make those positive steps towards that beginning? Like, what would be involved in this new beginning? What do you think would be valid?
Except now we're experiencing a lot of paradigm shifts in our society, not just one big paradigm shift.
Yeah, no,
so a lot of things are changing.
Yeah, it's basically a domino effect right now. It's like everybody, no matter who you are, you're experiencing something that is maybe make you or break you, but nonetheless, it's like it's everyone, And I think, what something I do notice is unity usually comes out of tragedy. Like, tragic things will happen, and that pulls people together, throws people together who wouldn't likely do that. And some might say, well, especially when the president got first in office, people were blaming him for everything. And the one thing I said to people, I said, no, he's not the creator of this. He's only bringing it to the surface because he's an authority. He's an ultimate authority. He's the president. And you're like, well, there's this whole guidelines. I'm like, there's apparently supposed to be a lot of guidelines that the president's not supposed to do, but he's doing it because he's showing us this is where the cracks are.
Very well.
And without, like, hey, no one's going to stop me. Look, I'm doing this. You'd say not to push this button, but look, I'm clearly pushing it over and over again. Which is good, because that actually gives us an opportunity to see, oh, well, he's just running wild with this. This is something we should change, something we should really look into. When people were asking me about the, who are you going to vote for and everything, and I said, there's not really, when you're on the streets, your vote doesn't honestly count. But I said, personally, if we feel that the system is broken, that our government is broken, so the last thing we can do is put anyone in office. I know it's like, how do you have a country that keeps going without having anyone in office? It's like, but to say that someone's going to go in there and fix, like, that seems even more ridiculous. What they're seeing about the person that was in there before them is only what they've seen in, like, the news and, like, the press and, like, media, like, what they could find out. But as far as, like, day to day, like, what actually was going on, it's like he wasn't involved in any of that. None of the presidents were, like, involved, where it's like this, I don't know, maybe, like, the vice president becomes the president next go around. And someone said, well, I wouldn't vote for Hillary. And it's like, you know what, honestly, that was a horrible example for a first woman president.
I agree.
And I have nothing against her, but I'm just saying that's not a good, because she was already in the White House before when her husband was in it. It's like, we need to change it up.
It would be business as usual. I mean, nothing would change.
Right. So it's like, if we want to see a change, though, we'd have to get someone else in there. Make it native again. I don't know. Give the land back. Maybe the reason why we're seeing such a perpetuation of, like destruction, like, and the system crumbling, is because it was all built on stolen land. That's another theory, is that all of this is stolen. And how can you expect good juju or even good anything to come out of anything that's stolen? You steal a watch and the watch breaks. Is it any wonder? Not that the watch wasn't going to break. I'm just saying, like, don't expect too much. Well, there's treaties being violated all the time. And when I was volunteering, when I actually joined up with the Muskogee Nation in Oklahoma, the main thing was, we're just trying to protect the environment. the land, because without it, we're not going to have anything. A lot of people in society, what they know about the environment is when they go to the park and they walk around, or they take their kids to the playground, and that's basically what they know about the environment. They don't know, a lot of kids, maybe not on the West Coast because it's more known, widely known, but a lot of kids have no idea where their food comes from. They have no clue that fruits and vegetables grow in the ground, that it's a process. They have no clue. Yeah, I have Crohn's disease, and the one thing I can tell you, my mom, whenever she was pregnant, when I was in the womb, when she was pregnant with me, she didn't eat very well. She ate a lot of fast food. When she gave birth to me, she wasn't able to produce breast milk. That is easily fixed. If a woman can give birth, she can produce breast milk. And it's not to say that, she'll do it without any troubles. It's like, no, whenever you go to have the baby and you're not able to produce milk, usually it's because your diet is not right. You change your diet, you drink this certain tea, and it's not like, it's called breast milk tea. It's like in every store around the world, around the country. Every store. I've even seen it in dollar stores. Well, I have an autoimmune system, and your immune system develops in that stage. Whenever you're just being born, you just were born, and you're getting breast milk. That's the point. That's the purpose. So, with having an autoimmune disease as an adult and as a child, well, now as an adult knowing how to fix it, I'm trying to find ways of getting that mother's milk, because I wasn't given the proper immunities as from womb to birth. And in my childhood, the food I wasn't eating very well either. I was still eating the same diet my mom was on when she was pregnant with me. I was eating the same stuff. So like when I see a pregnant woman come out of Burger King, I instantly start crying.
How hard is it for you to access good food the way you live?
It's very difficult, but there's, like on the West Coast, you have a lot of the co-ops, and it's nice. Honestly, when I'm convicted of something and I say, you know what, I need to eat better, there's always somebody that comes around that says, hey, I didn't want to eat this. Like one time I was sitting outside of a In-N-Out Burger, and I was so hungry, but I'd been walking all day and hiking, that I just sat down, and this guy, he comes from inside, and he says, hey, you hungry? He's like, I don't know if you'll want this. He said, but it's animal style, and it's protein style. Well, the protein style is without the bun, and they put it in lettuce. I'm supposed to be bread-free, and I was like, I'm wheat-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free, and I said, this is awesome. I said, you gave me something that I've been wanting to try. I hadn't tried it on my own, because, every time I got handed something, it had a bun, and I said, I wonder if they do it. And that's when somebody came right out and said, here you go. Yes, they do it. See, it's that connection. I'm connected with the universe. I'm connected to provide a greater service, to provide something that's not just, it's like whatever I find out, I always inform others. I always relate the information. I think it should be free and should be given, because they try so hard to keep us away from things that are helpful. They being, I don't know, whoever's in charge. People say it's aliens, or it's reptilians, or it's this, or it's that, and they say whatever it is. And a lot of us that have come, if you believe in incarnate souls, are usually the ones like the healers and stuff that'll just keep coming back. It's very important to come into mindful and awareness. I wouldn't say quick, but it definitely needs to happen. It's like when I started, honestly, with my first surgery, they said I died and I came back. I felt like a totally different person, completely weird, but it was that moment when it really made me think and really assess everything from start to that point in my life. So from birth to 18. Could I remember everything from birth? Kinda. Not really. But it was like I was with God and I was in this trance of, I'm in a hospital for a month and a half. No visitors, nobody came to see me. You know, I have nothing else to do but search inside myself to figure out why is nobody here. I found out that a few people would have been there, but I didn't tell them because I didn't want to worry them. But they were already worried because they knew something wasn't right. They hadn't heard from me. So that was like, okay, that was another lesson. You know, everything that happens in our lives, we have to be very aware that everything has a lesson to it. Everyone we meet, there's a lesson involved. A lot of times when something happens and you're like, wow, that was crazy, it's usually something trying to speak to you as like your inner child or your spirit, and not just you in the social world, but you in a deeper level, a deeper respect, because there's more to be gained from all of us. I think if we all were tapped in, if we all were connected. It's something that I told the kiddos, you know, I consider myself, I had my friends' kids tell me that I was the world's greatest aunt. And I said, well, I don't know if that's true. I haven't been around much. And they're like, no, they still really love you because the time that you were here, they remembered you because you were awesome, you know, or whatever. And so when I talk to kids is when I really try to make the best effort I can. And I came up with this theory, this thought, that there is a reason, you know, we're all made different. We're all different. We all have our thoughts, ambitions, our feelings, our growing up, everything. Everything is different with each and every single person. That when you feel inspired to do something, whatever it is, don't wait around for somebody don't wait around to tell somebody that someone's going to say, oh yeah, go ahead and do it. The reason why you were given that inspiration is because you were meant to do it. So just go for it. Don't wait for people to be accepting, because that'll come. You succeed in something, you like, yeah, I was awesome and I made this happen. People come around like, oh wow. It's like, yeah, you didn't think this was a good idea before, but that's okay because I was meant to do it, so it would inspire others that have that feeling of like, oh no, this should be happening right now. Somebody should be like, somebody should be over there cleaning up that park. If you are thinking that, it's not because somebody else should be doing it. It's because you are actually talking to yourself of like, that's you giving yourself like a pep talk, like, no, that means you need to do it. When it comes to something like that, I think of myself as a student and a teacher. You know.
So you have something to impart to other people.
Right. I can see how people would see me as a good, like, a role model, like a leader in that aspect, like role model, because I definitely want to make sure that I'm living my truth and that I take things and people and situations with love, you know, the nurture side of me. So I separate myself from this whole leader aspect, leader idea, except I'm always a student and a teacher. You know, that's kind of because I definitely don't want to keep anything for myself.